And that is the conversation that I'm having on Worldview this afternoon with Shemo Chodho. He's the chair, Kenya Diaspora Alliance. We also have John Kagusha. He's a governance expert. Gentlemen, thank you for staying with me. Allow me to pick your mind on the sentiments of President Uhuru Kenyatta this morning during the Madaraka Day celebrations. Basically, he was giving a scorecard of what his government has done in the last 5 years. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, the Uhuru government, or the Jubilee government, has, of course, now been there for about 4.5 years. And one of the things I want to point out about this Madaraka Day is that it was impressive to see the opposition leader also attending the Madaraka Day, despite the fact that he may not have been given an opportunity to speak, which I really think he ought to have been given.
Yeah, a lot of people actually share the sentiment. They're like, why invite him if you're not going to?
Yeah, he ought to have been recognized. And I think it's a good thing. I think when he went there last during Gachagwa's burial, he was received very warmly by people of Nyeri. That's my home county. And probably he thought of going back there again. And I think that is really a positive thing. Then on the president's speech, one of the things I've realized is that he took quite a bit of time enumerating his achievements, and particularly the issue of SGR took quite a bit of time. And also, if you look at the way he brought it on his speech, it came very early in his speech, and he took a bit of time on it when he was actually reading his speech. And the other issues that he also paid quite a bit of attention on issues of the aged in terms of the social protection program that he has given them, the issue of devolution that the implementation has been since the promulgation of the Constitution in 2010. You know, since 2013, this is when we were actually now overseeing the whole issue of devolution in the country, which I think Jubilee government has probably done it fairly well. And not just the Jubilee government, because again, if you look at the devolved systems in Kenya, it's about every political party, because we have the opposition with their own county governments. We also have Jubilee has its own county government, but again, the devolution ministry is in the national government. So he took a bit of time to explain those issues. Then we also have the issues of Somalia and the issues of security.
But for someone who listened in carefully, there are those who would say probably the president was just giving his scorecard, what he has done in the last 5 years. You know, we have under 70 days to the election, just basically telling Kenyans, okay, this is why you need to re-elect me back to office. I mean, this is a day that the country is supposed to be observing internal self-rule. Tell me what we have achieved as a country. Like, that is what a lot of people probably expected. Yeah,
when you have Madaraka Day coming a few days to the general election, you expect.
Let me pick the mind of Shem.
Linda, one would have expected a little more, not just from the Uhuru administration, but even previous administrations, as we're celebrating. For somebody coming from a science technology background, one thing I've been trying to push through people in government, look, why do we each time fly the Kenyan flag on a low-flying chopper or on a high-flying balloon? Why don't we fly Kenyan flag on space? I'm very keen on the Kenyan satellite launched by Kenyan engineers. And this is something
the look I'm giving you right now.
Yeah, well, this is the way we should be thinking. We should be thinking big.
Yeah.
This is why I must commend the Jubilee administration for the Madaraka Express, despite the problems that come with it. There are challenges, some perceived, some real, but still, this is a major milestone. In the space of infrastructure, one thing that the president, along with these three other colleagues, the so-called coalition of the willing in the Northern Corridor project, telephone calls within the East Africa, let me say within the 4 countries, have been flattened. Whether you're calling Juba or you're calling Kigali or Kampala, is like local call. That's commendable, that's an achievement. But much more remains to be done. The fight against corruption and the fight against exclusion, those haven't been adequately addressed. It's in this regard that I feel very dissatisfied that when the opposition leader did attend, he didn't have opportunity to speak.
Actually, that was going to be the next question I'm going to ask you. The fact that, one, he was invited, was not recognized, was not given a chance to speak, and in the same breath you have the president telling people this is our country, we are all one, and you have under 70 days to the general election. Those are the 2 main flag bearers. This is the one chance for them to speak on the same page.
You're so right, Linda. The best way to unify this country for me is if NASA was to get 25 to 50 to 30% of the vote in Central, and Jubilee, on the other hand, getting 25 to 30% of the vote in Nyanza, I would be the happiest person, because that's the only way to unite the country. So the president should be free to campaign in Migori, Homa Bay and all, and the vice versa. The Right Honorable Prime Minister should do the same. In fact, it's unfortunate that Parliament is discussing the TJRC report at this late hour. If Kenya needed to be brought together, this is the time. And nobody can do it better than the president, who is the embodiment and the symbol of our unity. So I'd expected a little more in that regard. But again, in terms of scorecard for Jubilee, how they've done in containing corruption and stemming ukabila, these two dragons that we need to slay, they haven't done very well. But in some areas, they've done well. I know one area where some people have been against them, but as an IT person, I've been supporting a lot the idea of one laptop per child. There is no better project that any government would ever do.
Isaac Ruto just raised that up just now.
Yes, I think it's a good project. The only problem is the manner in which it's being implemented. From my sector, one would have to do a very comprehensive systems design and analysis to roll it out. I haven't seen any of that happen. But in a principle, it's a good project.
Kagusha.
Yes, Linda.
With respect to opposition leader Raila Odinga being invited, not acknowledged, not given the chance to say a word, this is the one chance probably they had to tell the country that we're in this together, and whoever it is that wins, this country needs to go on.
To me, that was not right. I think Prime Minister former actually ought to have been given an opportunity to say hi to the people of Nyeri. Actually, I was very elated myself when I heard that he was going. For me, I have been celebrating every moment I see Raila going to Central Kenya and people celebrate him. For me, I think it's very good, because we are looking forward to a time that as a country we are going to be united together. We can have reconciliation. You can go live in any part of this country. And I'm also very happy when I see Uhuru going to Kisumu and the people of Kisumu receive him so warmly and tell him, come back again, you are our president. I think that is the spirit that we need to embrace in this country. And of course, then what has happened may not have been the best example for that. Yes, it's a national event, and protocol is key. And of course, as you saw, only 3 people talked: the governor, the deputy president, and the president. But ordinarily, as a show of goodwill, probably when the president stood to speak, he should have told Raila to say hi to the people. You know, and by the way, when he got into the stadium, people were happy. They clapped for him, meaning they welcome him. And I keep saying, when he had a problem, some of the people who may have mourned a lot when he had a problem with his son, losing his son, some of the people who may have actually mourned a lot, and genuinely so, are people from Central Kenya. And you can see people in Kenya love their leaders. When they're left on their own, they love their leaders. People in Kisumu, if Uhuru has a problem, I'm sure people in Kisumu will really support him. You know? So the problem comes when now we are at times not given the right direction at the
Okay, Shem, listen, you're the chair of Kenya Diaspora Alliance. In under a minute, of course, the Kenyans in the diaspora are also watching the upcoming general election. What are your thoughts in terms of the preparations and what is currently going on in the country? Are you satisfied it's going to be a free, fair process? Are you satisfied that the IEBC is able to carry out a free, credible election?
Of course, Linda, we can't be satisfied, given that diaspora were basically disenfranchised. We are still actually in court. But the fact that IBC opened a little window for East Africa and South Africa wasn't sufficient. Barely 5,000 people were registered, and that wasn't surprising, because IBC, there were all the roadblocks that one had expected to block diaspora from registering. For example, they were required in Uganda, people in Uganda, to have regular passports. We do know people who go to East Africa just go with an ID and a temporary
I remember
passport.
That, yeah.
So in principle, diaspora are not happy. But I should also add that today being Madaraka, a solemn day, we'd expected more to be said about our heroes, the people, the Dedan Kimathis, the Tomboyas, and the others who delivered us, delivered this Madaraka to us. I feel that it's very unfortunate that we've forgotten our heroes and sheroes, they add. So I'd expected to see a lot more. Okay. But in terms of the preparations, I think there are concerns in the diaspora space, but we're still hoping that there's another day to fight.
We need to get to a different forum to have that conversation. Right. Shemocho, the chair, Kenya Diaspora Alliance, and John Kagusha, governance expert. Gentlemen, thank you for your time this afternoon.